Back on Race for the White House, the back half. I'm David Gregory. Time now to go inside the war room. Today, McCain and Palin barnstormed at separate events in Pennsylvania, a state that narrowly went for John Kerry in 2004. And the latest polls show Obama with a double-digit lead. A new round of polls out today from Quinnipiac shows McCain has an uphill climb in some other blue states as well. Quinnipiac has Obama up by 11 points in Minnesota. That's one the McCain camp would like to turn red. 16 points in Michigan, even though they've pulled out of the advertising there. McCain doesn't really think he has a shot. And 17 points in Wisconsin, a state McCain spent 2 days in last week. Now that we are just 21 days away from the election, what's the endgame strategies that McCain will be following, should be following? Joining me now to talk about all of it, Pat Buchanan, MSNBC political analyst, Steve McMahon, Democratic strategist, and back with us, Michael Smerconish. Pat, let me start with you. This was Senator McCain on the campaign trail today, raising another theme that I think we're going to hear a lot of in the final 3 weeks. Let's listen.
Were my opponent elected with a Democratic Congress in power, not only would there be no check on my opponent's reckless economic policies, there would be considerable pressure on him to tax and spend even more.
You know, this is back to basics, Pat. I mean, what are we going to see from John McCain? If he wants to go straight up on Obama on the economy, he wants to make it about tax cuts and raising the concern, just like Bush did in 2004, of all these Democrats running Washington.
I'm sure he's going to do that, but I don't know that it's going to work at this point. I mean, what's happened to McCain is this Pearl Harbor in the economy or the financial community, where he was running even in all those states, and all of the 4 of those Democratic states were toss-ups. They're all, as of now, gone. He needs a lot of good news on Wall Street, a lot of good news coming in the stock market. And I think he needs he needs something new and different to turn this around. I don't think the traditional tax and spend and earmark approach is going to do it.
We've got a new poll out from CBS News, New York Times tonight. The head-to-head number striking, if you look at it, 53-39, a 14-point advantage, Steve McMahon, for Barack Obama. We saw ABC, Washington Post had it at 10 points coming out. These are striking numbers.
Yeah, I think this thing is pulling away from Senator McCain. And at the same time, it's getting more difficult for him. His campaign seems to be lurching from a message of one day of character and questioning Barack Obama and who is Barack Obama to an entirely different message the next day, and yet a different message on a third day. And I don't think that that's a way for them to put any of these blue states back in play. I think what you may be seeing here is the bottom falling out of the McCain campaign, and more of these states are getting not just to the point where they favor Senator Obama, but to the point where Senator Obama has a significant lead, which is going to start to affect all the down-ballot races. The Senate races, House races, all across the country now are starting to move in Democrats' direction. And you may have a situation where there are 60 senators in the Senate, and there's another 20 or 30 or 40 members of the House on the Democratic side, and you have a veto-proof, filibuster-proof United States Senate and House that will let Senator Obama pretty much do whatever he would like to do.
Yeah, again, the campaign alert here, you see it on the bottom of your screen. New poll from CBS News, New York Times, a 14-point advantage, 53-39 in favor of Senator Obama. So, Smirk, if we look toward tomorrow night's debate, if you are Senator McCain, you look at the polling, you have lost these debates according to these polls. The advantage has clearly been for Obama. But he wants to go head up on the economy. He can't ignore it. He wants to turn it into a tax debate. What do we see? Is it a character attack, or does he try to make this about tax policy?
I think that the character attack has been attempted and has failed, and I think that it's had a boomerang effect on moderates and independents who haven't liked him continuing to go back to the well, or some of the antics that have taken place at those McCain-Palin rallies where there have been outbursts and some folks in the crowd who've had to be reined in. David, if you look at the internals on these numbers, it's older white folks who are abandoning John McCain and moving toward Barack Obama. I think it's fairly straightforward. Their retirements are now in jeopardy, so they're putting aside the social wish list and they're focused on their wallet.
You know, Pat, if you look at the math here, we can look at the head-to-head numbers nationally. I talked to McCain advisors who say, look, the key right now for us, we want to try to contest states like Pennsylvania, but we got to hold on to some big 5 states. You talk about Missouri, Indiana, North Carolina, and Virginia and Florida. That's how John McCain gets to 260, and he gets within striking distance of peeling off a couple of other states. That's still the game plan.
Well,
game plan, rather.
The Republican base is in peril. You got 5 or 6 major states in real jeopardy, and all the Democratic states are solidifying, and Obama is ahead in a number of big red states. I mean, if these polls 11, 14 points, anywhere near accurate, you're talking about almost a Reagan-style 1980 victory. It is very hard for me to see how McCain turns around. I think Smirk's made a very good point. Older folks are, deeply concerned about their retirement, what's happened to 401ks. And Obama, in those 2 debates, I don't know that he won them, but what he did accomplish was what he had to do, which was give people reassurance that he is not the caricature of the Republican and right-wing presentation, that he is not a dangerous figure. And I think that, I don't know that McCain can do that himself, start down that road, because I think he wants to run the final days basically as he's all out, he's a fighting warrior, a happy warrior, he's come from behind before, he's going after Obama, he knows better how to deal with it. I think that would be a better approach than going after Bill Ayers.
Steve McMahon, I want to pressure on this point. The easy thing to do is to look at these numbers, to look at the trends and say, this is such a clear-cut advantage for Obama. But McCain has been in this position before, and Obama has been in a position where he was right on the precipice of grabbing victory, only to see him in the estimation of some kind of coast at the end of the primary season here. We have the potential for a lot of late deciders in some of these big battleground states, number one. Number two, it is possible that if a bottom has fallen out on this financial crisis, that the economy may be in dire straits, but the crisis aspect and feel, the anxiety may not be at the level, the depth that it's at today, 3 weeks from now.
It's interesting, David, because the anxiety, as you mentioned, is very, very profound today. And normally that cuts against the person who is new, the person who's not somebody who's been there a long time, the person who's not well known and perceived to be steady and reliable. And in this instance, it's cutting against the person who's been in Washington for 26 years, the person who is from a party that on finances usually has an advantage over Democrats. So everything is a little bit upside down here. What voters seem to want very clearly is change. They have made a decision about a third Bush term. The McCain campaign, unfortunately for them, has been defined as presenting 4 more years of the last 8. And one thing people have made a judgment on, even before they made a judgment about Barack Obama or John McCain, is that is not what they want. I will say this, though. I'll give John McCain some credit for one thing. I believe that his advisors came to him and said that the way to beat Barack Obama is to go harder down this Bill Ayers path. And I suspect some of them said, let's go back to the Reverend Wright. And I believe that John McCain stood up and said, I would rather lose an election than try to win one that way. And I got to give him credit for that, because I think that was a decision that he made that reflects the John McCain that a lot of people felt like they knew and they've sort of lost touch with in the last several months. Good for him.
Smirk, I want to spend a few seconds here going over a new union mailer. Mark Ambinder on his Atlantic.com site reported on this earlier. These are from the AFL-CIO. These are Obama mailers. They're going out in states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Ohio. And you see the picture of it here. I want to protect 2 things, my job and my gun. That's why I'm supporting Barack Obama. There's been a lot of discussion and reporting that I've seen among union organizers for Obama who are out there taking on those people in states like Pennsylvania who may not be inclined to vote for Obama. It might be racial attitudes, maybe other things, but they are taking this on head on and trying to deal with some of the racism among some of their ranks, or let's not just say it's racism, other cultural aspects that may make people uncomfortable with Barack Obama, like a position on guns, for instance.
I know
How
that
effective
it's
is it?
All right, I know that it's going on in Pennsylvania because the head of the electricians union in these parts is someone who's told me that he's doing exactly that, going out and having direct communications with his membership just to try and allay any of those fears. Last Friday, I had the opportunity to say to Barack Obama, I keep firearms in my home. I bought them lawfully. I've had a carry permit. Do I need to be threatened by an Obama administration? And his answer was, no, you don't. The NRA didn't like hearing that answer.